per household.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update. News brought to you by Logan Extermination. Well, it's May 3rd, but there is a winter storm warning that is in effect later on in this weekend into early Tuesday for the mountain areas. We'll give you the particulars of that just ahead. Investigators have identified the skeletal remains that were found last weekend by individuals looking for shed antlers. The remains were located April 27th near Hansel Mountains, southeast of Snowville. According to Box Elder County Sheriff Chief Deputy Cade Palmer, the sheriff's office responded to investigate. Box Elder Search and Rescue were also called to assist. The skeletal remains were recovered and sent to the Utah office of the medical examiner for further processing and to determine an identity. Today, Palmer said medical examiners had used dental records to identify the remains as Matthew Bronco. The 29-year-old Idaho man was reported missing 5 years ago. On March 24th, 2019, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office was notified by the Fort Hall Police Department in Idaho that Bronco was missing from Fort Hall. Police reported his abandoned pickup truck had been found on I-84 exit 7 in Snowville. His wallet and phone were left in the truck. It was reported that his dog was also missing. Palmer said deputies initiated an investigation and search at the time. On March 27th, Bronco's dog was found wandering a few miles west of Snowville. Despite search efforts conducted by multiple agencies and volunteers in both Utah and Idaho, he was never located. Since his disappearance, a joint investigation between the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and the Fort Hall Police Department had been ongoing. Palmer extends condolences to Bronco's family. He said, although this is difficult news to receive and there are still unanswered questions, he said, we hope they can find some comfort to knowing that he has been found. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather, we do have a winter storm warning in effect starting 6 a.m. Sunday to noon Tuesday for the mountains of northern Utah. Periods of heavy snow are expected. Total snow accumulations of 8 to 16 inches with locally higher amounts up to 2 feet in the upper Cottonwood areas and the Ogden area mountains. Winter driving conditions are expected, especially above 7,500 feet. Now for the Cache Valley for tonight, becoming mostly clear and then sunny, much warmer tomorrow, high in the low 70s. But then rain showers move in late Saturday night, Sunday, rain showers in the morning, rain showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. It will be cooler, high temperature in the mid-50s on Sunday. Rain showers and rain and snow showers Sunday night into Monday. It's been to 53. It's 52 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. For the best value of today's hearing aid technology, see Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
May special. Terminate your weeds and green up your lawn for only $45, based on maximum 5,000 square feet.
KBNU News Time is 4:07. West Valley City Police Officer Dana Pugmire knows how quickly a collision can happen between a vehicle and a motorcycle. As temperatures warm up, Pugmire and other officers from around Utah are asking that drivers and motorcyclists meet in the middle, having mutual respect and awareness for each other on the roads. Pugmire was a motor officer in 2011 and on routine traffic patrol, attempting to pull over a speeder when a minivan went through the intersection of 4100 South Redwood Road and hit him broadside. Wednesday at a collision and repair shop, ironically named the Boneyard. Pugmire talked about the multiple bone breaks and fractures he suffered as a result of a collision. But after 3 weeks in the hospital and 6 months of rehab, he got back on the bike. He's no longer on motors, but is always eager to tell his story. Pugmire says there's a unique bond between motorcycle cops, as he received plenty of support after his accident. Wednesday, motor officers from several different police agencies showed up to help spread the word about rider and driver safety, because most of them also ride for fun. Before you hit the road this weekend in Davis County, be aware that a major construction project could result in delays of up to an hour. Northbound lanes of Highway 89 will shut down at State Route 193 in Layton beginning Friday. Beginning tonight, that is, at 8 p.m. Expect closures through the entire weekend and into the morning commute hours, with the road scheduled to reopen on Monday, May 6th at 1 p.m. UDOT warns that drivers could see delays of up to an hour on Highway 89 and I-15 on Saturday afternoon due to the closure. Drivers are strongly encouraged to use alternate routes or adjust travel times, officials warned. But judging by the closure times, it may be best to avoid the area completely. The Weber Basin Water Conservancy District is prompting the closure in order to install a new water pipeline in the area. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Information and news you need. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
This Mother's Day, surprise Mom with flowers and a piece of jewelry from S.E. Needham Jewelers. Choose from a large selection of birthstone, silver, and diamond jewelry. Or you may find something special for her in our family jewelry collections, or an S.E. Needham gift card may be timely. With the purchase of $99 or more, you'll receive a spring bouquet of flowers. Come shop today, open 10 to 7. For the people and occasions that matter most, S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
If your saving for retirement approach involves the phrase, "I'll get around to it someday," Edward Jones can help. When it comes to meeting your goals, time can be on your side. And there's no better time than now to get started toward your retirement goals. Edward Jones Financial Advisors can help. Stop by one of the 7 Edward Jones offices in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Friday, May 3rd. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio. Andy Morgan joining us in hour 2 for the For the People movie show. A lot of catching up to do, and 3 new films in theaters. Also a couple that we've fallen behind on, so plenty to get to during the movie show. Kicking things off here. I stopped doing it because people said I was being negative, and okay, I was. So I stopped doing my Friday traffic complaints, but we're going to do one. This isn't really a specific traffic complaint, but I hope everyone listening right now, if you're driving, I hope you're enjoying that Friday afternoon traffic out there. I don't know what it is about Friday afternoons, but it is pretty...
That and Saturday early afternoon.
Yeah, Saturday early afternoon around 1, and this time of day on a Friday, it's packed. But it had me thinking. I was watching. A couple of things. I had to make a couple of different trips to different places, and I was just kind of watching some of the traffic that was happening around me while I was sitting at a light or what have you, and it got me thinking about this. I remembered this article that I'd read a long time ago, and it spawned this huge year-long Reddit discussion on drivers, on bad driving habits, basically, and some of the things that we all do that actually make traffic and congestion worse, that you probably, if asked, would say is not a harmful thing to do. But, to set the stage for this, I found the article, but I found that the article had actually been updated since the 4 years, in the 4 years since I read it. And they've added some more information and data to it. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. It's got a simple title, which is basically How Bad Driving Habits Makes Traffic Worse. Why we wait behind the wheel. And a lot of it... two things to set the stage here. Congestion increases the odds of a lot of different things that are unpleasant. Our blood pressure... is one of them. If you're not able to keep yourself calm behind the wheel, you do need to take additional steps beyond what we'll talk about today, because there is zero reason to be as angry as I've seen some people on the roads lately. This is also showing up in the number of citations here in Utah for reckless driving, dangerous decisions on the road that can lead to expensive citations, even loss of license for a period of time or permanently if it's bad enough. And the number of road rage incidents here in Utah nearly quadrupled since 2021. So those are some obvious bads. The increased odds of an accident. Now, in congestion, in packed roads like you'll see in Logan, out on the highway at some of those intersections as well, you're moving at slow speeds, so we're probably not talking about accidents that are going to lead to fatality, and very unlikely we'll be talking about accidents that lead to even injury, personal injury. But we are talking about accidents that lead to damage to the vehicles. A lot of time spent on the phone with insurance companies. It can affect your insurance premiums. If nothing else, is going to ruin your Friday afternoon and Friday evening plans to get in even a minor fender bender in downtown Logan right now. So that's setting the stage for this article and some of the data from the article that we're going to talk about. But so again, congestion is bad, and it increases the odds of accidents, road rage. Not that that's an excuse. If you have road rage, that is your problem, and you do need to take steps to deal with that, because congestion is going to happen. But it also it slows down everyone's day. And what's mind-blowing about this is, for the most part, outside of weather and construction, almost all congestion can be avoided. And that's what this article lays out. It talks about a bunch of different things. What happens? So if two people do get in an accident, someone's being inattentive, someone gets rear-ended, then that has a tendency to slow down traffic behind that accident. Behind means traffic flowing towards that accident for up to 1.5 miles, simply because people slow down more than they need to go around the accident because they're gawking. So that's one obvious thing. But some of these might not be as obvious and might not have ever crossed your mind. I've never thought about this, Bill, and now I'm super attentive to this. But, you're coming up on an intersection and you're going to make a right turn. So you put your signal on and you get in that right turn lane. Say you're coming up on, we'll just say the intersection of 1st West and 2nd North up here.
Okay, let me visualize that first. Okay.
And you're going southbound, and you're going to make a right turn onto 2nd North to head out. Maybe you're going out to Mendon to see a horse or something.
See a man about a horse.
Yeah. So you're going to make a right turn there at 2nd North. And so you come up on that intersection, and you go to make that right turn, but you take your time. You get in that right turn lane, and you just kind of creep casually. You're looking, or maybe you're just personally not in a hurry. And so
I hate that because usually I am turning left.
waiting for that right-hand
headed
turn
southbound,
car, right?
heading left to go east, and there's that car that's just taking their sweet merry time. And
it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal. And I don't remember ever being taught in a driver's ed course or anything, that you should make efficient right-hand turns. If anything, I remember being taught you need to watch for pedestrians, people on bikes, all of that. I see this a lot. People come up to make a right-hand turn, and they look to the left to see the traffic they care about, where their opening is. And then their opening comes, and they go, and there's somebody in the intersection walking through, and that person almost gets clipped. So we're not talking about, racing through that right-hand turn, but we're talking about those people who get into that right-hand turn lane and just casually creep up to the intersection with their signal on, and then they casually make the turn slowly. That doesn't seem harmful, right? But the impact that has on the entire intersection is mind-blowing. In this article, there are some great visualizations about the physics of what's going on there. Traffic flow, looking at traffic flow like you would water flow, a river. And they talk about what that person coming up to make a right-hand turn, but taking way more time than they need to, going way too slow and turning way too slow. Their impact is similar to something floating down the river and getting lodged for a second and causing the water to build up, raising the level of the river there by 6 inches or a foot before finally breaking 3 and moving on. And what happens in a river is, of course, you have the slow or the pause in the flow that obstruction causes, which raises the water level, and so then that washes things off the banks or weakens the banks. If this happens over and over and over, the banks get weakened. The banks in this case are the pedestrians and the people on bikes. And then when that blockage is finally removed, if you've ever seen this happen on a river, there's a huge rush, and the river actually speeds up for a little bit. The same thing happens in traffic. So if you make a very slow right-hand turn, you've now cost time in the minds of all those people waiting to turn left. So you have all these people maybe that are coming from the south, coming past Logan High up to that intersection. They're all sitting there waiting to turn left onto 200 North to go out to Mendon to also see a man about a horse. You come up you're coming north, you're headed southbound coming from the north direction, and you make a really slow right-hand turn. Every single person in that turn lane, their blood pressure is now ratcheted up, and the likelihood that they're going to do something dumb is now increased. Now, this doesn't say you are responsible for other drivers. What this says is that you, by making that very slow right-hand turn that you would say is innocent and hurts no one, you've actually just made that intersection at least 10 to 20% more likely to be problematic in some way. And this applies to a lot of different things. You've also seen people... I saw this just recently, and it blows my mind that somebody would be in this big of a hurry because it's a great way to kill a pedestrian. In fact, that's exactly how a pedestrian was killed in Ogden a couple of years ago. But you've seen a light turns green, and someone in that left-hand turn lane decides they're going to go before the oncoming traffic even starts to move. So they just shoot it. Light turns green, you hear the tires squeal. I saw this on 14th North just a few days ago. Blew me away. Again, a great way to kill a pedestrian. And who wants that on their mind? And also imagine the effect on that family, all because you thought, well, I'm going to save myself a minute.
Well, aside from that, there's always that person that runs the red light after the light has even been red for a couple of seconds, seconds, going the other way. They're gonna run it. One caller called in didn't really want to go on the air.
Traffic report?
No, he just said keep in mind there might be some inattentive drivers, especially to this weekend, starting yesterday and today, and maybe even into Saturday with USU commencement.
Yeah,
all those extra family members in town.
A
and
lot more people.
There might be people who are turning, making that slow right turn, but they're not quite sure if that's the place, if that's where they need to be. So they might be going a little bit extra slow. So he said that could be. He said it's been crazy on the roads.
Yeah,
he drives in from Nibley.
Oh.
And I can attest to that. Yeah, it seems like a lot more traffic and a lot of more out-of-state licenses right now.
Somehow those stretches of road in from Nibley into Logan have become as bad as the 14th North area. I don't know what's going on there, but UDOT needs to time some lights. I know that. This is a personal pet peeve. If you're headed southbound past Macy's there, headed towards, into Millville or Nibley or Millville, or Hiram, whatever. If you get stopped at that light there, the Walmart corner, it turns green, and the speed limit is 55. So everyone speeds up to 55, and then you have to stop at the next light
at 1700 South,
and then the speed limit is still 55. So that light turns green. Everyone speeds up to 55, and you get stopped at the light by Ridgeline High School. If people who live there, if you watch them, they stay in the right-hand lane, and they probably don't break 45 because they know you're not making it through those next lights. Just take a breath and cruise along.
Well, because I know the Ridgeline light, at least, I think it's a demand light.
Yeah, the minute a car pulls up east to west direction, it starts to change. And I do think UDOT needs to work on that or just lower the speed limit because there are a lot of emissions that are coming just from that stretch of road because people are just getting up to 55 as soon as they can to beat that next light there in Providence, and you're not going to. It's impossible. I've seen people try. Okay, I'll admit it. I've tried. You can't do it. It's going to turn yellow before you get to it. Just take your time. Which goes against what I'm saying here. Don't take too much time. The point of this is that person turning right that's taking way too long, they're blocking visibility. They're causing everyone to have to sit and wait, which causes other drivers to act more erratic and make bad decisions. You're that one maneuver that you did, and then you go on about your day having no idea. That intersection is now, according to crash data nationwide, that intersection you just went through too slowly, making a right-hand turn, is now 20% more likely to be the scene of a traffic congesting accident for the next 15 minutes. It's mind-blowing to see this broken down by the numbers. Another one that you see all the time, and I used to drive the freeway every day for work. I had to be from here to just about middle of downtown Ogden every day for 4 years.
Yeah, one time that was a leisurely trip. Now you're in city traffic from
I used to be able
Brigham
to make
City south.
I could make it in 32 minutes without speeding. But I doubt you could do that today. What I did notice, though, a lot, and I used to laugh because I learned after the first year that you're not getting there any faster driving like an idiot on the freeway. It just doesn't happen. You're a slave to that traffic the minute you enter the freeway. So what I would do is I would pick a spot. I would always be 2-3 miles above the speed limit, maybe with the cruise control, and I'd be in that middle lane. I'd move if I was really slowing traffic, if everyone else wanted to go a lot faster. But normally
because nowadays there's always a lot of people that want to go much, much faster.
Well, and normally I'd sit in that middle lane with my cruise control on. I'd listen to something on a podcast or some music or something, and I would enjoy my drive. Get there exactly the same time. But I'd see all these cars going around me and changing lanes, zigzagging back and forth, passing on the right.
It's their Indy 500 moment, It's just
so here's the thing:
or their NASCAR moment.
When you do that, you're actually causing traffic congestion, and it's so basic. Why? I've never even thought about this, but every time a car changes lanes, the drivers behind them notice that activity, and they react. And oftentimes that reaction is to just dip down a mile or two in speed. Or maybe even they tap their brakes, which causes everyone behind them to tap their brakes.
They're thinking, I want to stay away from that idiot.
Yeah. So if you're, and honestly, we're not talking to that idiot because that idiot has already zigzagged around you and gone on down the freeway. But to all the rest of us, rational-minded drivers capable of learning new things, don't be that idiot because you are actually making things worse. And you're not really getting anywhere. So one of my favorite things, this is childish, I know. One of my favorite things is when someone just driving like a complete fool, zigzagging around traffic, pass on the right, tailgating, flashing their lights even I've seen sometimes, and then you roll up next to them at a stoplight. They got nowhere for all that effort and stress and risk to their car.
They kind of sink down into their seats.
Yeah, and I sometimes I do kind of turn and look at them and crack a smile. I don't know if they know why I'm smiling, but I know why I'm smiling, and it makes me feel good. But I know it's childish, but that's one of my few revenges when I see somebody driving that way. But yes, zigzagging through traffic, passing, changing lanes a lot, you're actually contributing to the problem. And again, there are some obvious things that will slow traffic, unavoidable weather, construction zones, car accidents when they do happen, distracted driving. This is one of the biggest ones. Distracted driving. So research shows that distracted driving is a factor in over 8% of daily accidents, making it one of the leading causes of fender bender style accidents in city traffic. And so obviously distracted driving poses a huge risk to your own safety and the safety of others. But you might not realize how often your distracted driving is causing you to slow a bit or not move when you need to, or turn a little more slowly, or a little more erratically. So that's the thing with the turning thing, by the way, to get back to that for a second. You don't want to do it too fast. You don't want to do it too slow. But everybody knows what a normal speed is for a right-hand turn. And you know if you're doing it too slow, and you know if you're doing it too fast. But it's amazing to me to see how these little things. One more to get to here quick, and then we have a caller before the news. Roundabouts. Yield. Roundabouts work really well to keep traffic flowing, and this is mainly going out to every Providence resident. I'm calling you out. Everyone in Providence.
If they're headed westbound on 100 North, they remember
that yield sign doesn't apply to them.
They
right?
remember the days when the north-south traffic had to stop, and they could just roll right on through. But they're still just thinking this. I'm on the Alpha Road here,
cruise through.
100 North.
Yep.
So they actually speed up as they follow other cars through the roundabout.
I watched a little while ago. I watched a line of 7 cars, nose to butt, just follow each other through, and everybody else had to come to a complete stop while those 7 yahoos did that. No, yield. The car in front of you goes, you yield. It doesn't mean you have to come to a complete stop, but it means you're barely moving if the traffic's heavy. The reason for that, it creates a zipper-like function around that roundabout, and everybody's traffic keeps flowing. Not as fast as a straightaway, obviously. Much faster, though, than a stoplight or a 4-way stop. And everybody keeps flowing. But it only takes one person. Now, this is one thing to see here. I've linked to it on the Facebook page again. A video where they show how one bad driver impacts a roadway, a roundabout, an intersection, even a highway, just by doing simple things I guarantee we're all guilty of. But they actually show from above with a helicopter, I think they used a drone, how traffic is impacted behind that one bad driver. And the video is titled, "It Only Takes One," and then ... because the part after that is not radio friendly. Caller on the line with weighing in. And sorry, Bill, I'm not logged into my chat. We have Robert. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, 3 real quick comments.
Okay.
One, the weaving in and out of traffic so you can get ahead of everybody. My wife and actually will make jokes when we literally will get to the next stoplight and they are the car ahead of us.
Oh, isn't that fulfilling?
They put a lot of people in danger weaving in and out of traffic because they're going to get there that much quicker.
Oh, yeah.
They don't.
Isn't that just validating in some way? You know, whether you pull up next to them or behind them, just knowing you casually got there, they nearly had a stroke getting there, and they're in the same place.
We'll just laugh and we'll say, hey, I hope it was worth the risk. Hey, we're right behind you. And then my other thing, which has nothing to do with this, but the motorcyclists, I get that it's legal for them to drive up in between the cars now at the stop signs or at the stoplights. But I actually had a motorcyclist the other day who didn't think he had quite enough room, and he reached out and he pushed my rearview mirror in.
Ooh, yeah, that's not
because
cool.
he wanted to get by. And I mean, I get it. I get it. But you guys, and then stay off your darn cell phones when you're at a stoplight or turning right or left or turning right.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've sat there. The road's clear. They could be going, but they're too busy on their cell phone to realize, oh, gosh, there's no cars coming. I can go.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that, too. I appreciate it, Robert.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your show.
Oh, thank you for listening. Appreciate your call. I've seen all those things, and it really does happen. You know, these are not isolated incidents that Robert's talking about or that I'm talking about. These are things we see every day. And, oh, man, motorcycle. I might crack my window if a motorcyclist reaches out and messes up my
they should not
mirror.
touch your vehicle.
Yeah, don't touch another
stuff
vehicle.
like that.
It is legal for them to slide up between you. Personally, at some intersections, I would never do that. Because so what it is, they can start off faster than you. But if you've ever seen how many people run the yellow lights or even the red lights, that intersection out in Hyde Park, for example, I'm not zipping through that on a motorcycle first.
And unfortunately, like the old adage is, see the motorcyclists. A lot of people do not see motorcyclists.
Yeah, it's if I know I take up less space,
they don't notice them right away.
If I know I take up less space and I'm less noticeable. Some intersections I don't want to zip through as soon as it goes green. I want a few cars to go before me. They can handle an impact more than you can on a motorcycle. But don't motorcyclists. That one's kind of set me off here. Robert's story there. Don't reach out and touch someone's mirror. That's if nothing else, that's bad form. But man, you're gonna get talked to and deserve it. So yeah, you're not in that big of a hurry. We'll be back after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:34, and this look at the news brought to you by U&I Furniture. Here it is early May, and there's a fresh new winter storm warning in effect for the mountain areas of northern Utah starting 6 a.m. Sunday going till noon on Tuesday. Periods of heavy snow expected, total snow accumulations of 8 to 16 inches, with locally higher amounts up to 2 feet in the upper Cottonwoods and Ogden area mountains. Winter driving conditions are expected, especially above 7,500 feet. Those in the backcountry will experience winter-like conditions. We'll see what that translates for the valleys, like the Cache Valley, in just a moment. Logan City Light and Power is among 5 nonprofit community-owned utilities that have been recognized as Utah's most reliable electric suppliers. Mark Montgomery, the Light and Power director, said this award is a testament to the city department and the commitment of its employees to providing reliable energy at the lowest cost possible to residents and businesses. The recognition of the local utilities' reliability in 2023 came from the American Public Power Association, a trade group that represents more than 2,000 not-for-profit, community-owned electric suppliers. Paul Zummo, the director of research and development for the association, said these communities should be proud of their local power providers and appreciate the hard work that goes into earning this recognition. Zummo explained that the association's e-reliability tracker service enables electric utilities to monitor power outage and restoration data. Then the reliability team compares that data with national statistics compiled by the U.S. Energy Information Administration for all type of electric utilities. In addition to its recognition of Logan Light and Power, the association also cited the reliability of public utilities serving Brigham City, also Hurricane City, Washington City, and Mount Pleasant. Some U.S. universities with weekend graduation ceremonies are taking steps to contain any disruptions amid tension over the Israel-Hamas war. The University of Michigan says staff and security officers are ready to respond. It says interfering with commencement will not be considered free speech. Indiana University is designating protest zones outside graduation venues Northeastern University in Boston is holding its commencement at Fenway Park a week after a pro-Palestinian encampment was removed and nearly 100 protesters were arrested. And in Utah, students booed and yelled "Free Palestine" while the University of Utah president spoke at Thursday night's commencement. KVNU News Time is 4:37.
U&I Furniture has been located in the same downtown Logan location for 94 years. That doesn't happen unless you're doing some things right. For 94 years, U&I Furniture has been family-owned, family-operated, and family-supported. For 5 generations, they've been committed to taking care of customers, offering quality products at fair price. Lots of different brands and selections in chairs, mattresses, sofas, dining sets, bedroom furniture, floor coverings, appliances, and more. For 94 years, there's always a better buy at U&I Furniture, U&I in downtown Logan.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Recalling a conversation with her former boss in 2018 about the $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, former Trump aide Hope Hicks testifying at the Trump hush money criminal trial in New York. At the courthouse, ABC's Olivia Rubin.
She came across as remarkably credible on the stand. I don't think there was a person in that room who thought that Hope Hicks was not telling the truth, just based off of her demeanor. She broke down crying. She was very careful with her answers. She was very soft, and she was very specific with what she was saying.
Torrential rain and flood emergencies for millions and tornadoes in southeast Texas and Louisiana. Indicted on conspiracy and bribery charges, taken into custody, Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife. The Justice Department investigating possible ties to the former Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan. CIA Director Bill Burns now in Egypt to join talks about a ceasefire and release of hostages. This is ABC News.
KVNU weather, again a winter storm warning in effect 6 a.m. Sunday to noon Tuesday for the mountains of northern Utah. For the Cache Valley, though, becoming mostly clear tonight, low in the low 30s. Sunny, much warmer tomorrow into the low 70s with south winds heating things up 10 to 20 miles an hour. And then 40% chance of rain showers by late Saturday night. Rain showers on Sunday. Then rain showers, slight chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon, mid-50s, rain, and a mention of snow showers late Sunday night into Monday. It's been to 53. It's 51 right now at KVNU. As soil temperatures warm up, you'll see weeds fight for space and try to take over your lawn. Lawn Doctor can help you win the weed battle. Go to lawndoctor.com or call 753-LAWN. You can always get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's get a business update now, brought to you by Edward Jones.
Now, the economy churned out 175,000 new jobs last month, well below the 240,000 economists were predicting, at about half the number of jobs created in March. Some analysts think the Fed may reconsider its decision to leave interest rates where they've been since last July. Hopes for a drop in rates had the Dow Jones 340 points higher going into the midday. The industrials were hovering around 38,565. The S&P was up nearly 0.9%. The Nasdaq was higher today by 1.6%. Oil prices are headed for their steepest weekly drop in 3 months, helped by easing tensions in the Middle East and uncertainty about demand for energy. The experts at GasBuddy predict drivers will get relief at the pump in the coming weeks. And Apple has revealed in its new earnings report that iPhone sales have dropped in nearly every market across the globe. Those results, though, were not as bad as expected. The company's stock jumped 6% this morning. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello? Yeah, is Mike there?
Speaking.
Officer Graves, this is Will Feelwright calling from KVNU. I'd like to give you free lunch to Firehouse Subs. You okay with that?
Sure.
Don't know what to say.
Well, someone called and told us about how you had recently been called out on an accident for a young teenage driver, and thanks to you, you really helped put her at ease. And on top of that, I understand you've been with the NOVA program for years, and I know those kids love you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
A little tribute to Eddie.
Dwayne Eddy, who passed away earlier this week at, I think, 86.
Oh, really? I didn't realize he was that old. That's
He was kind of quoted as saying that he took up the guitar and played because he said people don't really want to hear me sing.
Yeah.
So
that was
be
and he was
instrumentalist,
and he was pretty good. A lot of times, though, people had no idea it was him. There's a famous, and we're talking the twangiest of country. Ghost Riders in the Sky is the name of the song. He played guitar on that as a session musician.
Was that with the Outlaws?
Yep.
Their version of that?
Their version.
I know other people have done it.
Yeah,
too,
I think the Outlaws version is the one most people know, though, right? At least it's the one I know, maybe not. But, yeah, it was... he played on a lot of stuff. He's given credit for, quote, changing rock and roll. He was also self-taught. I thought that was kind of cool. He was never professionally trained in any way, but he is cited as an inspiration by a lot of different artists still working today, from Bruce Springsteen to John Fogerty called him the master, I think. But yeah, just kind of cool how his career happened in general. The reason I know so much about Eddie, there was a great documentary that was made about him by I forget now, Bill. What's the it used to be country music video station. Now it's just like MTV. They don't
CMT?
CMT. CMT had a documentary about him a while ago. And it was kind of fascinating because his career shouldn't have happened. Everything was stacked against him, basically. He didn't know anybody. He wasn't connected. He had on paper, he looked like an absolute nobody. And then he just got lucky and got heard in the 1950s, and it took off from there. But Mr. Twang, they call him throughout the documentary. That's kind of the guitar style he was known for, is that twangy guitar. But
yeah, he actually he was born in Corning, New York in 1938. He actually, he died on April 30th, so on Tuesday. Is that right? In Franklin, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville.
Really? I did not know he was born in New York. That's interesting. You kind of assume a sound like that and the career he had, you kind of just assume.
Be bluesy, South.
Born and raised somewhere south of Nashville. There was also, there was another today, Electric Light Orchestra keyboardist. I forget his name. Or this week, sorry, that passed away. So there, some noteworthy deaths of the week, and I like that little tribute. Maybe we should spend the entire show today with nothing but Dwayne Eddy playing during the breaks, just to bring a little twang into everyone's life.
You can never have too much.
This is listeners that I grew up listening to that stuff, and I still struggle with it, to be honest. That's fair. I think a lot of us sometimes have that experience with things that we were kind of more forced to be familiar with by our parents.
When do they get to the lyrics?
Yeah. I can't wait to see what the generation after Gen Z is, because we're talking. So Gen Z, this is the generation of rapid TikTok trends that last less than 24 hours. Artists who have made millions of dollars and don't know why because it happens overnight, and they wake up in the morning and like, why is there $1 million in my bank account in residuals? Well, it was a TikTok trend for 24 hours, and then everyone went and bought the song because that's literally what's happening now. But I'm curious to see whatever, I don't know what we're calling the generation after Gen Z yet, if we even have named them, but they're going to grow up in a world. I was just reading this the other day. Albums, that word, Bill, soon a thing of the past. Gen Z does not think about music in album form.
Well, people,
unless it's Taylor Swift.
People stream music if they, they'll download it, download a song or something.
Yeah. And even like established artists with record deals are releasing more 4-song EPs, which is something, in my generation, an EP meant this was an indie band trying to make good, trying to break through. And they couldn't afford the studio session for a full album. So they pool their money together, did a little fundraising at their bar gigs, and got enough money to do a 4-song EP. And then they'd print as many copies as they could afford, and they would hope someone noticed. But now even established bands are releasing 4-song EPs, and even a lot more singles without an album attached. So a single has always been a promotion of an upcoming album when a single song was released, but not so today. So, yeah, I'm curious to see, again, a listener saying they grew up being forced to listen to Duane Eddy, and listener says, to be honest, I still struggle with it.
Well, hey,
we all have something like that.
I was forced. I grew up forced listening to Mantovani and Henry Mancini and Burt Bacharach. So
yeah,
deal with it.
That was. I remember. It's still around. My mom had a record player that was also furniture. Remember when that was a thing?
Oh yeah.
I think it had been gifted to her by an older relative. But I remember she had Dolly Parton, whatever the album with me and Little Andy on it is. I don't remember the name of the album. And then we had the Sesame Street Disco album. I think it was Grover Sings Disco or something like that.
You'd probably get money for that now.
And a lot of Elton John LPs, records. That's kind of what I grew up. And then for my dad's contribution, it was basically anything on the country charts, whatever the top 40 country was at the time. So I did go through a phase where I disliked everything I grew up hearing and resisted it, but it didn't last long. I came back to it pretty quick. There are very few musical genres I don't enjoy. There are some that are less pleasant. I like hip hop. I don't know how people drive around listening to hip hop. Hip hop for me is a not driving music. My heart rate starts to increase. I start to get nervous. But I pretty much am a fan of all styles.
I am not, rap, hardcore rap, not into classical. I can't.
Yeah.
Unless it's
the right environment.
Really melodic or something.
Yeah.
But not into classical too much.
I had a professor in college that used to roll into the parking lot about the same time I did for an 8 a.m. class. And classical music just cranked, like so loud that it would hurt. And I always thought, what a horrible way to start the morning.
And if he pulled up to a stoplight next to some young person listening to their hip hop rather loud, I'm sure
their noise.
I'm sure it was a competition. See how loud he could get Beethoven to.
I'm pretty
drown that out.
You could probably drown out a lot of hip hop with Beethoven's Ninth loud enough. There's some loud parts in that. All right, we'll be back with more For the People right after this.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and water costs have both increased over the last few years. The Lawn Doctor offers a popular service to help keep your lawn green and healthy while watering less. One application of our HydroGuard service reduces your watering frequency by up to 1 day a week, saving you water and money.
Watering help, weed, fertilizer, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
Join us each week for Music in the Spoken Word featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcasting the world. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, classical, and contemporary music, and a timely, inspiring message. Truly an uplifting program that will have you returning each week. Music and the spoken word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Sunday mornings at 8 and again in the afternoons at 6 on News Talk KVNU.
On the next Handle on the Law.
Do they, someone hold a gun to your face, to your head and say you got to listen to the radio show and not the podcast?
No, but if you continue listening after, they go to break,
Okay, I understand. So let's go back to the original program, How to Find Some Brains When I'm an Imbecile.
That's not the program, though.
Oh,
gee,
you could have fooled me. You could have fooled me, Eddie.
It's Handle on the Law, Saturdays from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
Going way back here. Welcome back to
Sounds like Clint Eastwood riding up in a horse or something. On a horse, I guess. Not in a horse.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Survey out today from the Utah Foundation. I suggest everyone go check it out because it's pretty nuanced, but it's interesting. It's the first time so they call this the Utah Priorities Project, and every year they survey about 1,500 Utahns from these control groups that they put together almost 15 years ago. So obviously the same people aren't involved, but they've done this for 15 years now, and they're very careful to couch these surveys. They say these would not work as predictive political polls for candidates or the outcome of elections. The way they do this survey is 100% geared towards just spotting trends, what's changed in Utahns' minds over the years. And for the first time in the 15 years Utah Foundation has been doing this survey, Utahns said Utah is headed in the wrong direction. Or, I'm sorry, a majority of Utahns, for the first time ever, almost 60% said Utah is headed in the wrong direction when it comes to our public policy. Things that are cited specifically, of course, are air quality, our water planning, traffic, lack of housing options, housing prices. But also mentioned in this were the legislature's recent, I call them culture war bills, and I don't mean that to be dismissive. It's just accurate. It's what they are. Culture war is a political bandwagon that pops up that's centered around some sort of cultural issue, but politicians try to turn it into policy because it helps them fundraise and sometimes get reelected and things like that. And you know which ones I'm talking about because there are some that only do that, especially in the United States Senate right now. But there are some of those here in Utah, too, unfortunately. Luckily, they burn out quick. They don't last long in the legislature. But the legislature the last probably 3 years has been a little more culture war bill friendly. These are things that were usually shut down by leadership because, well, leadership would just say, look, this isn't germane to anything specific in Utah. This is a political bandwagon because it's a presidential election year. We all know that. Let's not waste our limited time on this. Let's do the business of the state. Current leadership has been less inclined to say that. And so these culture war bills have gotten a lot of debate and time on the House and Senate floor in Utah, and they've passed because no one dares vote against them once they start getting a debate, because we have so many brave people representing us in elected offices. And then the governor, Cox and Herbert, both, when these would bubble up through the legislative process and not be stopped by a committee beforehand, they would always sign them because, again, politically they can't afford not to once they've passed. So those specifically have been cited. But it's interesting, the majority who cite those as a reason they feel Utah's heading in the wrong direction isn't necessarily that they disagree with bill banning transgender students from girls' sports at the high school level. It also isn't necessary that they disagree with the law passed this year, which is probably going to be repealed considering the mess it's made in the schools as they've tried to figure out how to implement the bathroom bill that passed in the legislative session this year. So respondents don't necessarily come right out and say they disagree or agree with those bills or not, but they do come out and very clearly say this is something that the state doesn't need to be wasting time on. We have more pressing problems that aren't being solved by our elected leaders. It's pretty harsh condemnation of the legislature, primarily. Now, I want to say this. Our legislators, though they do vote for these bills when they survive committee and get to the House floor, again, because politically they can't afford not to, our legislators here in Cache Valley, several decades over, well, at least for 3 decades, have not been inclined to be the sponsors or chief promoters of these culture war bills that take up so much time. And that, I think, is a credit to the Republican representatives from here in Cache Valley. And it used to be the case with Box Elder, but Box Elder seems to be going through some stuff. So some of their lawmakers have been a little more culture war bill inclined of late. But it was just interesting for me to see this. Again, for the first time in 15 years of the survey being done, the Utah Foundation found that the majority of Utahns, almost 60% surveyed, said Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and they primarily point at the legislature and cite government wasting time on issues that aren't specific to Utah and general dysfunction at the legislative level, which we have seen some of recently, unfortunately. I don't know what kind of change this might lead to, but I do know that, obviously, the Democratic candidate for governor, longtime state representative Brian King, is making all kinds of noise about it. He'd be dumb not to. But even Republicans in the legislature are saying, look, this should be a wake-up call to us all. People aren't happy with what we're spending our time on in the legislative session or the outcomes of the session itself. And again, some of the specifics listed that they'd prefer lawmakers spend their time on: housing affordability. And this was interesting. Number 2 priority issue listed: politicians listening more to voters. That's a slap in the face for the legislature as a whole. I've linked to the Utah Foundation survey on our Facebook page if you'd like to see it. The For the People movie show coming up right after this here on KVNU Logan.
The station for news and talk. KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.